Princess Serena walked slowly through the palace gardens, her mind filled with thoughts she could not easily speak aloud. The morning sun painted the crystal fountains in shimmering shades of blue and gold, and the gentle hum of the energy fields that powered the city echoed softly through the palace walls. Despite the beauty surrounding her, Serena felt an unease that no sunlight or vibrant flower could chase away. She was the future queen of Luminara, a civilization celebrated across the galaxy for its intelligence, its technology, and its deep connection to the mind. Yet, even as the heir to the throne, she felt trapped by the expectations placed upon her. Her thoughts returned once again to the letter that had arrived yesterday, delivered with all the solemnity and ceremony the palace could muster. It was from Earth, a human world, and it announced the forthcoming marriage between her and Captain Elias Kane, a representative of humanity. The alliance had been long discussed, and in theory it would benefit both civilizations. Humans were resourceful, clever, and courageous in ways even the Luminarans could not fully predict. But Serena could not help feeling conflicted. To her people, humans were primitive. They lacked telepathy, their technology was slower, and their lives seemed fragile compared to the advanced civilization she had always known. And yet, something inside her stirred at the thought of meeting them. Curiosity mixed with apprehension, an emotion that felt foreign and thrilling. She had read reports, studied their history, their achievements, their mistakes. Humans had survived impossible odds, climbed to the top of their own world despite countless setbacks, and expanded into space with nothing but ingenuity and determination. Perhaps there was more to them than her people's prejudices allowed. Her contemplation was interrupted by the soft steps of her personal aide, Leora, who moved with the silent grace characteristic of all Luminarans. "Princess," she said, her voice calm but firm, "the human delegation has arrived. The council awaits your presence in the main hall." She had no idea how to behave, how to judge them, how to measure their worth. Her people expected her to be diplomatic, wise, and unflinchingly composed. And yet, for the first time, she wondered if perhaps there was a different standard of worth, one she might not fully understand yet. The grand hall of the palace was a marvel of Luminara architecture, with tall crystalline walls that seemed to capture the light and amplify it, until it filled every corner of the room. Telekinetic energy fields hovered above the floor, lifting ornaments and artworks in delicate suspension, a constant reminder of the civilization's mastery over its environment. Serena entered quietly, taking note of the humans seated in the visitors' area. They were not like her people at all. They moved with a kind of raw energy, their bodies loose and flexible, their expressions animated. They seemed alive in a way that the Luminarans had never experienced. Captain Elias Kane rose as she approached, his posture respectful but confident. He was taller than she expected, with dark hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in every detail without hesitation. Unlike the Luminarans, he showed no nervousness, only a calm curiosity that intrigued Serena immediately. His team mirrored his composure, each member quietly attentive, yet full of human energy that made the hall feel strangely warm despite the crystalline surroundings. "Princess Serena," Elias said, his voice firm but polite, "it is an honor to meet you. I hope our visit will mark the beginning of a fruitful partnership between our worlds. I hope that our meeting will be mutually enlightening." Her voice carried the soft, melodic tone customary for her people, but inside she felt a spark of excitement. There was something about him, about humans in general, that defied the expectations she had held for so long. The first moments of their meeting were formal, filled with polite questions and cautious observations. Yet even as the council spoke, Serena noticed subtle ways in which the humans adapted. When a Luminaran advisor used telepathy to convey a thought about protocol, Elias tilted his head, listening intently, then responded in a manner that seemed to show he understood without possessing the same ability. It was not perfect, but it was clever. It was resourceful. And it impressed her more than she expected. As the morning progressed, a minor crisis emerged. The palace's protective energy field, normally stable and invisible, began to fluctuate, causing small distortions in the air and making some floating ornaments wobble dangerously. Alarmed, the council murmured among themselves, unsure how to respond. Telepathic warnings and technical suggestions were exchanged, but nothing seemed to stabilize the field. Elias stepped forward, examining the situation with a mixture of analytical focus and practical intuition. Unlike the Luminarans, who relied on precise mental calculations and strict procedures, he approached the problem as a puzzle, experimenting with different adjustments, and even using some of their own technology in unconventional ways. Within minutes, the fluctuations began to subside, and the field returned to normal. The council's anxiety eased, and several advisors looked at him with newfound respect. Serena watched silently, her heart beating faster. Here was a human, someone from a species she had been taught to underestimate, and yet he had solved a problem her people struggled with. The realization filled her with wonder and a sense of pride that humans, her soon-to-be people, were capable of greatness. After the field stabilized, Serena invited Elias to walk with her through the palace gardens. The humans followed, their footsteps cautious but confident on the crystalline pathways. As they walked, she asked questions, testing his knowledge of her world, curious about how humans would respond to unfamiliar challenges. Elias answered thoughtfully, sometimes pausing to think, sometimes suggesting ideas that seemed strange at first but made sense once explained. He asked questions of his own, not out of ignorance, but out of a genuine desire to understand. Serena found herself smiling at his curiosity, at his willingness to engage with a world so different from his own. They reached a section of the garden where the crystal fountains reflected the twin suns of Luminara. Here, Serena allowed herself to speak more freely. "Captain Kane," she said softly, "I must admit I did not expect to be impressed by humans, yet here you are, solving problems, asking questions, adapting. It is unusual, even for my expectations." There was truth in his words, and she felt a growing sense of connection, something she could not yet name. It was more than respect. It was curiosity, admiration, and perhaps a hint of excitement about what might come next. The day passed with careful diplomacy, tour of the palace, and discussions of interstellar politics. Yet beneath the formalities, Serena found herself thinking about humans in a new light. They were resourceful, daring, and unafraid to challenge assumptions. They approached life with a mixture of courage and creativity that she had never witnessed in her own people, who often relied solely on tradition and mental prowess. As the sun began to set, casting long golden shadows across the palace, Serena returned to the gardens alone. The fountains sparkled in the fading light, and the hum of the city seemed to echo the excitement she felt. Today had been unexpected, revealing glimpses of humanity that no report or history book could have conveyed. She knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, not just for her, but for her people and for the humans who were now becoming a part of her life. There would be cultural misunderstandings, political tensions, and perhaps even resistance from those who feared change. Yet, for the first time, Serena felt a spark of hope. Perhaps destiny was not merely a path chosen for her, but one she could shape herself. She raised her gaze to the twin suns as they dipped below the horizon, casting the city in shades of violet and gold. Tomorrow, she would meet Captain Kane again. Tomorrow, she would continue to explore the possibilities of this unexpected alliance. And tomorrow, she would take the first step toward discovering that humans, despite their differences, might hold a key to a future she had never imagined. With a final glance at the sparkling fountains, Serena turned and walked back toward the palace, her mind alive with questions, her heart quietly thrilled by the promise of what was to come. Humanity had arrived on her world, and with them came not only uncertainty but also the possibility of greatness. And for the first time, she felt that greatness might be something she could help shape, and something she could embrace, not just as a duty, but as a choice. The next morning, the palace was alive with activity. The human delegation had been staying in a specially prepared wing, but now they were expected to attend a series of formal meetings and ceremonies. Princess Serena moved through the halls with her usual grace, though today her mind was preoccupied with the humans, especially Captain Elias Kane. Their first meeting had left her intrigued, and she wanted to see more, how they would interact with her people, how they would respond to her world. The main hall was filled with advisors, ministers, and dignitaries. Every detail of the human visit had been meticulously planned, from the menu to the seating arrangements, yet the atmosphere remained tense. Many of the royal advisors still viewed the humans with suspicion, convinced that they were primitive and unreliable. Serena, however, could not shake the impression she had formed yesterday. There was a spark in them, a combination of creativity and courage that her people lacked. Elias entered the hall with his team, moving confidently but respectfully. He scanned the room, acknowledging the dignitaries with small nods and subtle gestures. Despite being in an alien environment, he seemed comfortable, as though he belonged here as much as anywhere else in the galaxy. Serena watched him closely, noticing the ease with which he adapted to the alien surroundings. It was a skill that her advisors often underestimated: adaptability. The council began the day's discussions with formal greetings and ceremonial speeches. Luminaran advisors spoke in their melodic tones, communicating thoughts with precision and clarity. Humans responded carefully, asking questions and showing respect, but also contributing ideas that were fresh and unorthodox. While the Luminarans followed strict procedures, the humans seemed to think in unexpected ways, combining logic, creativity, and intuition. Serena found this fascinating. A sudden problem interrupted the formalities. The palace's communication array, a complex system that connected Luminara with distant planets, began to malfunction. Alerts flashed across the crystalline control panels, and advisors whispered urgently to one another. Normally, Luminarans would rely on telepathy to diagnose and repair the issue. However, the problem appeared to be unusual, beyond even their usual expertise. Elias stepped forward once again, his eyes narrowing as he studied the panels. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked calmly, though there was an intensity in his gaze. A senior advisor explained in careful detail the technical situation, including the unusual energy fluctuations that seemed to resist standard telepathic interventions. Elias listened intently, asking questions, analyzing the information, and then proposing an unusual solution. He suggested combining a small portion of human engineering with Luminaran energy modulation techniques. Some advisors exchanged worried glances, hesitant to accept suggestions from a human. But Serena, recalling his quick thinking with the palace's protective field, decided to trust him. With her approval, Elias and his team began working alongside the Luminarans. He coordinated efficiently, guiding humans and aliens alike in precise steps while remaining flexible enough to adapt when unexpected complications arose. The communication array, once on the brink of failure, gradually stabilized. By the end of the morning, the crisis was averted, and the council could not help but show their respect. Even the most skeptical advisors nodded appreciatively at the human ingenuity on display. After the ordeal, Serena asked Elias to join her for a private walk through the city's lower terraces, where the floating gardens and light bridges gave a spectacular view of Luminara's urban landscape. She wanted to understand more about him, about humans, and how they thought. "Your people see this city as perfect," Elias said, gazing at the tall crystalline spires that reflected the twin suns. "But I can tell there are challenges beneath the surface. Every society has them. Even humans would struggle here without learning the rules. We rarely see chaos, but it is always there, waiting for a moment to appear. You humans, you adapt to chaos naturally. It is remarkable." Serena found herself reflecting on the humans she had read about. They had faced war, famine, disease, and countless disasters, yet they had survived and thrived. It was resilience in its purest form, and now, seeing it firsthand, she understood that resilience was not weakness, it was strength. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft alert from her personal communicator. One of the palace's outer gates had detected an unusual energy signature moving rapidly toward the city. The security advisors were already mobilizing, but Serena felt a thrill of curiosity rather than fear. She turned to Elias. "Would you like to see something interesting?" she asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. Elias raised an eyebrow. "Always," he said with a small grin. Serena led him through the secure corridors and up to a balcony overlooking the northern approaches to the city. There, through the transparent energy shields, they could see a fleet of automated scout drones approaching at high speed. They were not hostile, yet their rapid movement and erratic patterns were unusual. The council speculated that it was a natural anomaly, a minor meteor storm interacting with the city's energy fields, but Serena suspected it might be more, a test, perhaps, of the humans' adaptability. Elias studied the drones carefully. "They move too intelligently for random natural phenomena," he said. "I think this is a simulation or a test. Either way, we can handle it." He quickly devised a plan, coordinating human ingenuity with the city's defensive measures. Using a combination of rapid calculations, predictive algorithms, and creative improvisation, Elias directed the energy shields to adapt in real time, guiding the drones safely away from sensitive areas. Serena watched, fascinated, as humans and Luminarans worked together. It was a dance of mind and skill, of intuition and knowledge, and she realized that the humans' greatest strength was not their technology, but their ability to think creatively and act decisively under pressure. They did not have telepathy, yet they solved problems in ways her people had not even considered. By the afternoon, the drones had been redirected safely, and the city returned to calm. Serena felt a deep admiration for Elias and his team. They had proven themselves not by brute force or by following protocol, but by ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. She had expected humans to struggle here, yet they had excelled in ways even she had not imagined. Later, she invited Elias to the palace's library, a vast space filled with thousands of records, maps, and holographic archives. "I want to show you something," she said, leading him to a table filled with historical records of Luminara's exploration of the galaxy. "Your people have faced challenges before. Perhaps seeing our history will give you context for what we expect." He asked questions, made observations, and even suggested new ways to interpret old data. Serena realized that he approached knowledge differently than her people did, more intuitively, more flexibly. He looked for patterns, possibilities, and solutions rather than merely cataloging facts. "You humans have a way of thinking that is unusual but effective," she said. "You do not rely on inherited methods alone. You create, you adapt, you imagine possibilities we might overlook. We have to improvise, to use what we have and what we learn, and to face challenges even when the odds seem against us." They were not the fragile beings her people had assumed. They were clever, courageous, and resourceful. And perhaps in time they could become trusted partners, not only in politics but in shaping a future together. Walking back through the corridors of the palace, she reflected on the day. Humans had arrived on Luminara not just as guests, but as catalysts for change. They challenged assumptions, tested traditions, and inspired those who were willing to see them differently. Serena felt a quiet thrill at the possibilities this alliance could bring, not just for her people, but for herself. In her private chambers, she paused by the window, looking out over the city as lights began to twinkle in the twilight. The twin suns had set, but the brilliance of Luminara remained, a reminder of the civilization's strength and ingenuity. Yet she realized that true strength might not be measured in technology or telepathy alone. Perhaps it was also found in courage, creativity, and the willingness to face the unknown with an open mind. Her thoughts returned to Captain Kane. He had shown her that humans, though different, possessed qualities that her people lacked, qualities that could complement their own and perhaps even elevate them. The idea filled her with both excitement and curiosity. What would tomorrow bring? How would the humans continue to surprise her? For the first time, Serena felt that the future was not fixed. Destiny was not something merely handed down by tradition or expectation. It was something that could be shaped, influenced, and chosen. And with humans in her life, she sensed that the possibilities were endless. As night fell over the city of Luminara, Princess Serena finally allowed herself a small smile. The humans were here and they were different, but perhaps that difference was exactly what her world needed. Tomorrow would be another day of discovery, of challenge, and of learning, and she was ready to face it, not as a passive participant, but as someone who could shape the path ahead. The day began with a bright sky and the soft hum of Luminara's energy fields. Princess Serena had decided that she wanted to see more of the humans' abilities, not just in controlled environments, but in situations that tested their instincts, courage, and creativity. She arranged for a private expedition to the floating crystal forests, a region far from the city where the natural energy fields created a dazzling but dangerous landscape. Towering crystals hovered in midair, connected by invisible currents of energy. Only those with careful skill or telekinetic awareness could move safely through the area. Captain Elias Kane and his team were briefed on the mission, and despite the warnings, they showed no fear. Serena observed them closely, noting their body language, their teamwork, and the way they studied the environment with interest. Unlike many Luminarans who would rely on telepathy and rigid rules to navigate such a place, the humans seemed ready to adapt, to explore, and to learn from what they encountered. As they began their journey, the first challenges became immediately apparent. Floating crystals shifted unpredictably, some large enough to crush a human if miscalculated, others sharp enough to cut through armor. Luminaran guides used gentle telekinetic nudges to stabilize pathways, but Serena wanted to see how humans would react without assistance. "Remember, caution is important, but creativity is allowed," she reminded them. Elias nodded, scanning the terrain carefully. His team followed, moving deliberately yet confidently. Serena walked alongside him, intrigued by how he analyzed every crystal, every energy fluctuation, every pattern of movement. The first test came quickly. A bridge of smaller crystals suddenly shifted, tilting dangerously as a gust of wind-like energy swept through the forest. One of the human explorers hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Without hesitation, Elias extended his hand and pointed to an alternate path, then demonstrated a careful leap that would allow safe passage. The others followed, using his guidance but also improvising small adjustments to their movements. Serena's eyes widened. They were thinking, learning, adapting, qualities her people valued, yet often did not need to exercise in daily life. As they moved deeper into the forest, a more complex problem emerged. A series of semi-sentient crystalline structures had begun to shift in unpredictable patterns, forming what looked like a natural maze. Even some Luminaran guides paused, calculating the safest route with telepathy. Elias studied the maze from multiple angles, noting patterns in the crystal's movement. He proposed a route that seemed impossible, yet it relied on timing, observation, and human intuition. Serena watched with fascination as the humans executed the plan. Step by step, they moved through the maze, adapting to unexpected shifts, communicating clearly without relying on telepathy. At one point, Elias had to catch a team member who slipped, improvising a way to secure her using a harness made from a combination of human rope techniques and Luminaran energy fields. They reached the center of the maze, a sparkling chamber filled with naturally suspended crystals that reflected light in dazzling patterns. "This is incredible," Serena admitted aloud, unable to hide her admiration. "You humans, you solve problems in ways I could not have imagined. You rely on observation, timing, and imagination, and it works." When a crystal suddenly fell into a path, blocking their way, they did not panic. Instead, Elias and his team quickly analyzed the situation, devising a makeshift pulley system using small energy tethers and ropes. The obstacle was removed efficiently, without damage, and they continued on their route. Serena realized that humans were not only courageous but resourceful in ways her people rarely needed to be. Meanwhile, back at the palace, some advisors were growing uneasy. They had been told the humans were clever, but seeing them navigate dangerous situations firsthand was unsettling. "They adapt too quickly," one whispered to another. "They do not fear what we fear." If Serena places too much trust in them, it could change everything. It was a combination that could complement her people's strengths rather than diminish them. As the day progressed, the humans encountered a final challenge in the forest, a narrow corridor where the energy currents were too strong for normal passage. A single mistake could send a traveler tumbling into the depths below. Even some Luminarans hesitated, concerned about safety. Elias observed the currents, then proposed a plan that combined timing, balance, and the use of small energy dampeners borrowed from Luminaran technology. Serena held her breath as the humans began to move through the corridor. Each step was calculated, each adjustment made in real time. When a current shifted unexpectedly, Elias adjusted instantly, guiding his team safely through. By the time they reached the other side, Serena felt a surge of admiration. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and complexity, and they had not faltered. "You humans are extraordinary," she said softly, more to herself than to anyone else. "Your courage, your creativity, it is inspiring. It is how we survive and thrive." Back in the palace, Serena convened a private meeting with her closest advisors. "We must reconsider our assumptions about humans," she said firmly. "They are not primitive. They are resourceful, intelligent, and capable of great courage. Our people must see this if we are to build a true alliance." Some were still wary, convinced that human success had been a fluke. Others began to see the truth in Serena's words. Humans were not weaker. They were different, and their difference was powerful. As the night deepened, Serena found a quiet moment in her chambers. She gazed out over the city, lights sparkling like stars below. Humans had proven themselves not just in controlled environments, but in a place that demanded creativity, courage, and adaptability. She realized that her perception of destiny might need to change. Perhaps the union with humanity was not merely a political obligation, but an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to shape a future that neither her people nor the humans could foresee. Her thoughts returned to Elias Kane. He had faced danger with calm intelligence, led his team with clarity, and adapted to challenges in ways that inspired respect. She felt a mixture of admiration and curiosity. This species, was unlike anything she had expected, and yet she felt a deep sense of possibility in what they could accomplish together. The day had been a test, not just of human skill, but of her own judgment. She realized that her role as future queen was not only to uphold tradition, but to recognize potential, to embrace change, and to trust her instincts. Humans had proven that they were worthy of trust, not through authority or ceremony, but through action, courage, and ingenuity. As she finally rested, Serena felt a quiet excitement for the days ahead. The alliance with humans was no longer an obligation. It was a journey, one filled with promise, challenge, and discovery. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new opportunities, and perhaps new revelations about the humans and their potential. And she was ready to face them, not as a passive observer, but as a leader willing to embrace the unexpected. The stars began to shine in the night sky above Luminara, and the city hummed with quiet energy. Serena lay awake, thinking of humans and their extraordinary abilities. She understood now that strength came in many forms, and that courage, creativity, and determination were as powerful as telepathy, technology, or tradition. The humans had proven themselves, and in doing so they had changed her world, and perhaps even the course of destiny itself. The morning on Luminara began with a strange quiet. The usual hum of the city felt subdued, as if the energy of the twin suns had been dimmed. Princess Serena noticed it immediately during her morning walk through the palace corridors. There was tension in the air, an unspoken alert that made her senses sharper. Reports from the outer regions of the city confirmed her unease. Unusual energy fluctuations were detected near the northern approaches, moving faster and more intelligently than any natural phenomenon. Captain Elias Kane was called immediately. He arrived at the palace control center, moving quickly but calmly, assessing the situation with sharp, attentive eyes. The Luminaran advisors explained that the readings suggested the approach of an external threat. A rival alien faction, long aware of the growing alliance between humans and Luminara, had mobilized to test the planet's defenses. Their attack was not yet open, but the signs were clear. Luminara was under scrutiny, and the humans would be a part of the challenge whether they were ready or not. Serena felt a pang of worry. This was far beyond simulations, far beyond the tests she had conducted in the floating crystal forests. This was real. She turned to Elias. "Captain Kane, can your team help us respond?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with urgency. Elias studied the energy patterns, then nodded. "Yes, Princess, we need a plan that uses both human tactics and your technology. We can't rely on tradition alone." Humans approached problems differently. They relied on initiative, strategy, and improvisation. She decided to give Elias the authority to lead a combined effort. The preparations began immediately. Humans and Luminarans worked together, blending their techniques in ways previously untried. Humans designed adaptive defense patterns that responded in real time to enemy movements, while Luminarans strengthened the energy shields with precision control. Serena oversaw the coordination, her confidence in the humans growing with every passing moment. As the first wave of the attack approached, it became clear that this would not be a simple battle. Small reconnaissance ships moved at high speed, testing the energy shields and probing for weaknesses. Elias quickly analyzed their patterns, predicting their movements and guiding the defenses to counter them efficiently. The humans adapted to changes instantly, improvising when the unexpected happened. Serena watched in awe as human courage and ingenuity turned potential disaster into manageable risk. Meanwhile, Serena led a small contingent to defend key points within the city, coordinating with human and Luminaran forces. The attackers tried to exploit areas where energy fluctuations were strongest, but human tactics, combined with Luminaran precision, blocked their advances. At one point, a group of automated drones broke through a weaker section of the shield. Without hesitation, Elias directed a team to intercept them, using a combination of human maneuvering strategies and energy dampeners provided by Luminarans. The drones were neutralized before any significant damage occurred. The battle escalated as larger ships entered the orbit above Luminara. Serena remained calm, her mind focused on every detail. She could sense fear among some advisors, but she knew that humans did not operate in fear, they operated in determination. Elias coordinated the defense, using rapid calculations, creative problem-solving, and decisive action. Each human decision inspired the Luminaran forces to act with more flexibility, combining their precision with human intuition. In the midst of the battle, a critical moment arose. One of the enemy ships aimed a concentrated energy beam at the palace's main energy core. If it succeeded, the entire city could be crippled. Serina's heart raced, but she refused to panic. Ilias immediately devised a countermeasure, coordinating a diversion using decoy energy signals while Luminaran forces strengthened the core's shield. The plan required precise timing and flawless execution. Serina assisted by guiding telepathic energy flows to synchronize with the human tactics. The combined effort succeeded. The enemy beam was diverted, and the palace remained secure. Serina felt a surge of pride and relief. Humans had not only participated in the defense, they had been pivotal. Their creativity, courage, and willingness to take calculated risks had saved the city. After the immediate threat passed, the council assessed the situation. The enemy fleet had retreated, but the message was clear. Luminara was vulnerable, and the humans had proven their worth under pressure. Advisors who had been skeptical of humans began to acknowledge their capabilities openly, some even offering praise. Serina knew that this was a turning point. The alliance was no longer theoretical. It had been tested in battle, and humans had proven their value. Later, as the sun set, casting long shadows over the city, Serina and Ilias walked through the palace gardens. The energy fields that had once seemed so delicate now seemed to glow with renewed strength. Serina spoke quietly, reflecting on the events of the day. "Captain Kane, your people, they are remarkable. I underestimated you before, but now I see that humans have courage, creativity, and determination beyond what I imagined. Indeed, today has taught me that strength comes in many forms. It is not only in telepathy or technology, but also in courage, adaptability, and willingness to face the unknown. Humans possess these qualities in abundance." They had faced danger without fear, acted decisively under pressure, and adapted to challenges in ways that Luminarans rarely needed to. She realized that their presence was not just helpful, it was transformative. Humans brought a new perspective, a new potential that could change the course of her civilization. The next morning, Serina convened a meeting with Ilias and her advisors. "We must learn from today," she said. "Humans are not merely allies, they are partners. Their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability are invaluable. We must integrate these qualities into our defense, our planning, and our way of thinking." They had proven themselves in the face of danger, and their abilities could not be ignored. Ilias spoke carefully, emphasizing collaboration. "Our goal is not to replace your methods, Princess. It is to combine them with ours. Together, we can create something stronger, more resilient, and capable of facing challenges neither of our peoples could handle alone." The future of her people, and perhaps of the galaxy, depended on recognizing potential wherever it existed. In the following days, Serina worked closely with Ilias to implement new strategies for defense, communication, and cooperation. The palace became a hub of innovation, as humans and Luminarans collaborated in ways previously unimagined. Ideas flowed freely, blending creativity with precision, intuition with calculation. Serina witnessed the best qualities of both species in action, and she felt hopeful for the future. By the time the threat had fully passed and the city returned to normal, Serina had made a decision. She would not follow the path of tradition blindly. She would embrace the humans as partners, not only in politics but in shaping the destiny of her civilization. She would stand beside them, learn from them, and recognize their worth openly. That evening, as the stars shone over Luminara, Serina reflected on everything that had happened. Humans had arrived on her world, faced its challenges, and proven themselves in ways she could never have predicted. They were brave, intelligent, resourceful, and adaptable. And through their actions, they had shown her a new path, one that was not dictated by duty alone, but by choice, courage, and vision. Serina looked out over the city, feeling a quiet thrill. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and perhaps new tests of human ingenuity. But she was ready. Together, humans and Luminarans had faced danger and emerged stronger. Together, they could face whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. The alliance was no longer just a plan. It was real, tested, and proven. And for the first time, Serina felt that the future was not something imposed upon her, but something she could shape. Humanity had arrived, and with them came hope, courage, and the possibility of greatness. The morning air over Luminara was crisp and clear, a calm contrast to the chaos of the past days. Princess Serina walked through the palace gardens, her thoughts focused on the future. The humans had proven themselves, not through ceremony or speeches, but through courage, ingenuity, and determination. Captain Elias Kane had earned her respect and admiration, not only as a representative of humanity, but as a partner in shaping the destiny of her world. The city was alive with preparation. Luminaran engineers adjusted energy fields, while human teams assisted in implementing new defense protocols. Together, they had formed an alliance that combined precision, creativity, and adaptability. Serena observed them moving through the city, impressed by their teamwork and the mutual respect that had grown between the two species. What had begun as a formal political arrangement had evolved into something far greater, a true partnership. Serena met Elias at the palace terrace, where the twin suns rose over the horizon, casting golden light on the city below. He greeted her with his usual calm confidence, though she could see the fatigue of the past days in his eyes. "Princess," he said, "the city is secure and our people are ready for whatever comes next. But there is one thing I want to discuss with you. But what I've learned is that strength is not just in ability. It is in courage, creativity, and the willingness to act when the outcome is uncertain. Humanity brings that, and together I believe we can achieve far more than either species could alone." Humans had adapted to challenges with ingenuity and calm under pressure. They had saved the city, navigated dangers in the floating crystal forests, and stood as equals in the face of adversity. "I agree, Captain Kane. Together we can build something new, a future shaped by our combined strengths." Serena addressed the advisors, speaking with a confidence that had grown stronger with every test. "Humans have proven themselves," she said. "They are not merely guests or political allies, they are partners. We must recognize their contributions, integrate their strengths into our planning, and embrace the opportunity to learn from one another." The Council agreed to implement new strategies that blended human adaptability with Luminaran precision, marking a significant step forward in the alliance. Meanwhile, a new challenge arose. Scouts reported unusual energy fluctuations near the outskirts of the city, suggesting the presence of a hidden force. Serena did not hesitate. She turned to Elias. "We must investigate. It may be a test or it may be a threat. Either way, we need to act." As they approached the source of the disturbance, they discovered a series of automated drones, similar to those used in previous attacks but more advanced, more unpredictable. "These are not natural," Elias said, examining the drones. "They have been modified, likely by a faction that wishes to challenge us." Luminaran energy shields were used to contain the drones, while humans employed quick thinking and improvisation to neutralize them. The operation required perfect coordination, and Serena guided the telepathic flow to synchronize both species' actions. Step by step, they cleared the area, dismantling the drones without incident. Once the threat was eliminated, Serena felt a sense of triumph. Humans and Luminarans had worked together seamlessly, proving that their partnership was not only effective but essential. The city was safe, and the alliance had been strengthened further by this shared success. That evening, Serena invited Elias to the palace terrace for a private conversation. The twin suns had set, and the stars sparkled above the city. "Captain Kane," she began, "I have been thinking about destiny. For a long time, I believed it was something set in stone, determined by tradition and duty. But I see now that destiny is shaped by choice, by courage, and by the actions we take together. Humans may have taught you something, but I think you've taught us too, about vision, leadership, and the courage to trust. You have shown me that humans are capable of greatness, and I want that potential to be recognized, here and across the galaxy." Serena's marriage to Elias was no longer a matter of duty alone. It had become a symbol of cooperation, trust, and mutual respect between two civilizations. The palace was decorated with both Luminaran elegance and human touches, celebrating the union of technology, creativity, and culture. When the ceremony began, representatives from across the galaxy attended. Luminarans, humans, and delegates from allied planets witnessed the joining of two species in a partnership that promised strength, collaboration, and innovation. Serena and Elias stood side by side, not merely as bride and groom, but as leaders, partners, and visionaries. During the ceremony, Serena spoke to the assembled crowd. "Today is not only the joining of two individuals," she said, her voice clear and strong. "It is the joining of ideas, strengths, and determination. Humans have proven their courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. They are not only our allies, They are our partners in shaping a future where our civilizations can thrive together. This partnership is a promise to protect, to learn, and to grow together. And now, as partners, they could face the galaxy together, forging a destiny built not on duty alone, but on mutual respect and shared potential. The celebrations continued long into the night. Humans and Luminarans mingled, sharing stories, technology, and experiences. Laughter, curiosity, and admiration filled the palace halls, replacing old fears and skepticism. Serena moved among the guests, proud of the alliance she had helped forge and excited by the possibilities that lay ahead. In a quiet moment, she stood with Elias on a balcony overlooking the city. "Do you ever imagine what the galaxy will look like in 50 years?" she asked, her eyes reflecting the lights below. Elias smiled, looking out at the horizon. "I imagine a galaxy where humans and Luminarans and others work together, where courage, creativity, and intelligence are valued equally, no matter where they come from. I see a future we can shape together if we continue to learn from one another. With humans by our side, and with the courage and wisdom of my people, I believe we can achieve greatness." Humanity had arrived on Luminara, not as a visitor or subject of tradition, but as a partner, proving their value through ingenuity, bravery, and determination. Serena felt a sense of peace and hope she had never known before. The humans had exceeded every expectation, and in doing so, they had changed the course of her life and the future of her people. Destiny was no longer a fixed path, it was a choice, and with allies like the humans, it could be extraordinary. As the stars twinkled above, Serena looked at Elias and smiled. The galaxy was wide, full of challenges, mysteries, and possibilities. Together, they would face them, human and Luminaran, side by side. Together, they would shape a future where courage, creativity, and determination were celebrated. And in that moment, Princess Serena understood that greatness was not inherited. It was proven. It was proven in the heart of a human who adapted, acted, and faced the unknown. It was proven in the partnership that had grown between two civilizations. And it was proven in her own choice to embrace the future, to trust, and to act with courage. The galaxy awaited, and they were ready.